So my name's Alicia Dynamic, and I'm the K-12 education coordinator for the Generator.
I'm Jessie Sprocket, and I'm the communications director at the Generator.
So we're here just to talk about where the organization's at right now and what we have planned for the near future.
Yeah, I feel like to start, we should just tell you what the Generator is, right? Have any of you been to the Generator? Please raise your hand if you've been there. Nice.
Cool.
Awesome. So you guys kind of know. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's a makerspace. So we used to be in Sparks at Ice House for the last 8 years in a 35,000 square foot warehouse building full of tools. We had a wood shop, metal shop, tech lab, textiles, paint area, ceramics, just a ton of different stuff, screen printing.
The stage where there was performance and aerials.
Yeah.
The old location was in the industrial district, sort of behind where the Nugget is.
Yeah, so that we had that for 8 years, and we made a ton of large art. And we are now in transition. We had to leave our building in August because our lease was up, and they decided they were going to sell the location. So we put everything into storage, actually at the what's it going to be called now? The Reno
The public market.
Reno
the Reno Public Market. So the old Shoppers Square.
Yeah.
We have a temporary building there that used to be the Marshalls, and we're doing some storage there. But I just wanted to clarify one of the things that you said. You said we've made a lot of sculptures. Just to be more specific, we've facilitated people making sculptures. The Generator organization, we don't produce art ourselves. I mean, a lot of us do, but that's not the function of the Generator. The function is actually we facilitate.
Yeah.
So
We're
just to be clear that it's not, as we show you these, that they're made by people who are using the space that we provide and the tools, and sometimes classes and educational stuff. So
because it's a community space. So it's our community making all of the stuff in the space that we provide with all the tools and the knowledge that we provide. And so we were in storage for a minute, but the most exciting thing that we just announced last week is that now we're moving into a temporary public building on Bell Street. You guys may have been there before. It's Cathexis. And that's at 250 Bell, right in downtown Reno. So we'll have a smaller makerspace there while we wait for our really big thing, which is the Audi District in Sparks. And that'll be a gigantic live, work, make space. It's a whole development with like
a brewery,
and gym,
some retail,
and a bunch of different stuff.
It's a whole redevelopment plan that they're doing, the Audi District.
So that'll be in
where
like
the Lowe's was.
Yes, in
the old Lowe's building. So near the Goodwill there, right on Audi.
Yeah, so we just filmed a tour of our new Bell Street location, and we're hoping to open that on May 1st. And we wanted to just play a video of us kind of walking through the space and talking about what it's going to look like. And then after that, we'll go through kind of a slide and show you guys more of the different art that's been made at our space and talk about more of the programming and the things that we do as a community art nonprofit. So let's play a video.
Cool.
Hi, welcome to the new Generator at Bell Street. Come on in. This is the front area when you first come into the new space, and we'll have a front desk person here to greet you and take you to the warehouse where you can make tons of awesome things. We plan on hosting workshops in this space where we will have COVID safety precautions in place, and everyone will be able to learn something new together safely. Missed it? Yeah, every time. We also have some really cool flex space like this basketball court where we'll be able to have community events. And we have a movie theater as well. What kind of movies do you want to see on this big screen?
One of the coolest things about this new location is that there's so many collaborative workspaces where people can come and share ideas and work together. Here's where our makerspace will be housed. We're not really sure about the layout of all of our shops yet, but we do know we will have textiles and tech lab, screen printing, and maybe laser cutting in here. This space might house the CNC. We're not really sure yet, but there's definitely a lot of room to make cool stuff. This is our largest section of the new space. We're going to do a call for art for a mural for this wall so that we can have some new awesome paints to liven up the place. Thanks so much for coming on this tour. We're so excited to have you in the new space, and we can't wait to show you what it looks like when we're all done setting up.
Okay, so that's the new Bell Street location. So I guess if there's any, if anybody wants to ask any questions about that, we could do that, or should we wait till after we do the second presentation? Oh, okay, well, I guess we'll just go through the second.
Yeah, we just have some slides.
We just have some slides to talk about of things that we have done previously. So where is it?
I think we gotta do
This, maybe?
trying our best. Yeah, perfect.
Here we go.
And then you just do full screen on it. Present. I got it. I got it.
Sorry.
No
I couldn't
worries.
see it behind the Zoom window.
Okay. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about the organization. So to start, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we were founded by an angel donor that saw a bunch of people were already just making collaboratively, kind of like in a warehouse down on 4th Street, and throwing things together and making cool art. And an angel donor saw what was going on and wanted to fund the project. So that's how we basically got started. They like provided us with money and we got a building.
In 2011, they built the previous workspace was called the Salvagery, and like Sprackett said, it was downtown, and they built the temple for Burning Man there in 2011. And this couple that ended up being these angel donors, they came there and worked on the project, and they were just so impressed by the experience that people were having, like, and the different types of people from different walks of life that were coming together and learning new things and sharing skills and experiences. And they were just so struck by that they wanted to help fund a more permanent space. And that's how the generator was born.
Yeah, kind of like a really beautiful, like, I don't know, Cinderella story in a way.
Yeah.
So we just serve kind of all different types of individuals. We have artists and makers, craftspeople, builders, engineers. We have everything from Elevated Van Works, which is a duo that just basically mods out vans to make them into like live spaces.
The campers.
Yeah, campers. So that like they're
luxury camper. They're
very
like
fancy.
Really luxurious camper, Mercedes van campers.
Yeah. So like we have everything from them to, you know, someone doing hand-built ceramics, or Killbuck making. He actually is like one of the top mural painters for circuses in the world.
He does
So-
old fashioned sign painting, like
Yeah.
circus signs. And he's one of the few people that still does that. And he's extremely talented.
Yeah. So
We
we
have metal sculptors,
Mhm.
woodworkers, a lot of people who are professionals, and then a lot of people who are paraprofessionals or just hobbyists. But we have runs the whole gamut.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful mix of people, and it creates interesting collaborations that just happen naturally while everyone's interacting with each other, making in this one space. And yeah, like we said, we've been around since 2013.
So yeah, we opened up in Sparks in 2013, like I was saying, and then in 2020 we had to move out of Ice House, and this was also during the pandemic, and so that was a whole thing. And like we said, we moved into that Shoppers Square building. We have some storage going there, but now we're moving into Bell Street, and then we will hopefully be moving into this more permanent home in the Audi District by like the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. We're basically in the final stages of some negotiations there. So hopefully that will be a definite pretty soon, but there's still some things that have been pushed back, with COVID and signing agreements and things. It's taking some time. Again, a big part of our beginnings and our journey has been giving space for people to create really large scale, fantastical art. Over 100 sculptures over the years were built there. Some like the Space Whale downtown, Embrace, Bebot, Baba Yaga's house, which is temporarily installed at Fly Ranch. A temple has been built there. The ichthyosaur puppet, if you've been in the Discovery Museum downtown and you've seen the big fossil ichthyosaur skeleton puppet hanging over the doorway, that was built in the generator. So lots and lots of things. And we've grown to include more than Burning Man art, even though that is kind of what we're known with, and we're positioned well to do given our proximity to the event. So Baba Yaga's house, that's this sculpture here. And Sprocket was the lead artist on this project.
Yeah, and Special K worked on this project, everybody.
Yes,
If you
Special
don't
K
know,
was-
Kay actually helped us build this. She
Daryl.
stood on a ladder and stained underneath this chicken house. I swear to you. I have photos of it.
So that's that. And like I said, that's at Fly Ranch, which is a property which is a large property that's now owned by the Burning Man organization out by Gerlach.
Yeah, and you can take a tour of it if
Oh
you
yeah,
want.
the Friends of Black Rock High Rock. You can go out there and tour it and see Baba Yaga's house.
Yeah,
And
you can
it's a
sign up.
really beautiful property.
Yeah, you can sign up on their website and you can go take a tour and see Baba Yaga's house, as well as some more art that's out there, and the Fly Geyser, which is super famous. So
Yeah, the Fly Geyser is pretty well known. This is Phoenix. She's a sculptor, has worked out of the generator. She's done a few large scale sculptures like this, which are concrete. This one was placed for a long time at UNR's campus. It's called Mind of Da Vinci. So it's Leonardo da Vinci, and you can go around the back and sort of get inside of his head, literally. The Space Whale, I'm sure most of us are familiar with that, given its location in town. That was built in the generator. This is Bebot, a large scale sculpture that was built by a fabricator in the generator, and it was designed by an artist who's located in London. A thing that we've been able to do a lot of with the generator is interfacing with international artist groups. In this case, it was an artist in London who found one of our members, who actually is my husband too, who built this sculpture for her from her drawings. It's now permanently installed in Philadelphia, actually, in the Northern Liberties neighborhood. But we also get a lot of groups that come from all over the world that do the finishing work or the entire build of their sculpture to take out to Burning Man. We're able to provide them with space at the generator. So sometimes at the end of the summer, when you come right before Burning Man, it feels a little bit like being in a hostel in Europe or something, because there's so many people speaking different languages in the kitchen and whatnot.
yeah, we've got like Ukrainian crews, Lithuanian crews, South African crews,
Yeah.
Australian, like
It's been really amazing over the years to see
it's incredible.
the variety of the artists that we've been able to facilitate that if there wasn't the generator, they just wouldn't have been able to do it. It made a lot of projects possible. This is that temple that I referred to that was built in 2011 in the generator. or in the salvagery that led to the generator being built. And that's the Temple of Transition.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'll just jump in for
Go
a
ahead.
minute.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk a little bit about how we did the financials. I know you guys are entrepreneurs and business owners, and I bet that would be really, I don't know, I bet you kind of want to know about it. So we had the angel donor, to start. So we didn't charge anybody for the first 4 years. Anyone could come into the generator and just use a tool. They didn't have to do there was nothing involved. You just show up and you make
You just
art.
sign a waiver.
Yeah, you sign a waiver.
Sign a liability.
But anyone could come in and just make things. And that was amazing. Like, of course, what an incredible thing to be able to offer the community. But what we found was it's not really sustainable, right? And we basically, tools were getting run down. Things were just like not being able to be upkept in that model. And we wanted to move away from just having one donor and become a more sustainable organization, a more serious arts organization. So we transitioned into a membership model in 2017. So now we're funded multiple ways through memberships, through workshops, and then we also have a pretty robust events thing going on, and then grants too and donations.
Mhm.
And that's working out really great. We're growing as an organization. We've been able to hire way more people and offer a lot more programming. And the future looks really bright, even though we've had a lot of building rudeness.
Yeah. So here's a picture from a sewing workshop that we did some time back. This is a picture from the event Punk Rock Flea Market, Reno Punk Rock Flea Market, which has been a really huge event. What kind of attendance were we getting before COVID? Like how many people came last year?
In 2020, which it happens in February, so it's right before COVID, we had over 3,000 people come to this event over the weekend. And it's really cool because we have like about 15 bands play and over 100 different local artists sell their wares, and we have performances, and it's just a really beautiful way to showcase the Reno Sparks community and all of the cool stuff that's happening on a daily basis, but all in one space for that weekend. And it just gives back a lot to the community as well as being a fundraiser for us. So that's been like just a really great event.
It's been a huge success, and people come from all over. We get people coming from Sacramento and Tahoe and all over the greater area to attend because it's sort of a unique event that people are really excited about. More workshop pictures. This was a paint pour workshop, a woodworking workshop that we did, welding, an intro to welding course. Here's a community event where it was called the Sparks Pumpkin Palooza. We helped facilitate that.
Yeah, we run the pumpkin derby.
Oh, and then this is, so I am a new employee at the generator. I was recently brought on to build out a new K-12 educational program. While we have done some things where kids could be involved in the past, we never really had a serious focus on that. So that's changing now with my being brought on. I've been working in education for over 10 years. And most recently, I started out as a public school teacher on the East Coast. And since moving out to the West Coast, I got into auxiliary and enrichment education. And I've been working in the past few years in science museums. I used to work at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry in Portland. And I worked for a little while at the Discovery Museum here in Reno. And what I've been focused on in the most recent years of my career is makerspace education, hands-on STEM education. So the first project that I'm rolling out right now is called the Jenny Box, and it's a STEAM kit for young makers, as it says here. Basically, it's going to be an 8-episode workshop and sort of video series where I'm going to be interviewing makers and artists and professionals on different thematic topics for each episode. And then there's also a hands-on activity. And when you order the box, you get all the access to all the episodes, and you also get everything that the kids need to, everything that the child needs to do the activities, like soup to nuts, literally everything you need. It's one of the things that I was most interested in doing was making it pretty low cost It's something I have a lot of experience with working in museums, is having to put together activities that hundreds of people are going to be able to do. So you need to have a pretty low per person cost. So we're offering the box at $65 a kid. So for 8 different activities. So we feel like that's a pretty good value. And we're hoping to find some local business sponsorships to be able to offer it at no cost or very low cost to local schools that are under-resourced. So that's something we're working on right now. And once we get into the new building, I'll be rolling out some more in-person learning for children there. So we're really excited about that sort of summer camp type programs. It'll have to be a smaller program while we're at Bell Street because it's a smaller building, but we really feel like the sky's the limit with our family programs once we get into our Audi District building. So speaking of the Audi District building.
Yeah, the Audi District, it's going to be a really big workspace. So we'll be able to have everything we had in the past, plus a large art park. And there will be housing on site as well. So we are working on building out an artist residency program. We're just in like the very early stages of that, but we're hoping to offer it to Northern Nevada residents, specifically people that are underserved. So, and like bringing, especially people that are rural, and bringing them here to the city where they can make art and live in Reno and have access to a whole different kind of community.
Yeah, so that's us.
Yeah. Because we can, I feel like it's perfect timing for the Q&A.
Yeah.
That's just, yeah. Perfect.
All right. So guess we could open it up now for any questions people might have.
So for somebody that hasn't been involved in something like this, how do you get involved and what are the costs?
Sure. You just sign up to be a member, and there's a bunch of different levels. But the best is the shop membership because it just gives you access to everything, and that's $50 a month.
It's a little like joining a gym.
Yeah. Then you'll have access to the wood shop, like all of our tools, the screen printing. Probably, you know, when you start, it's almost like more tools than you really even know what to do with. But then you start learning from people around you and taking workshops and stuff, and suddenly you're like, I now know how to make art in 8 different ways or whatever. Any other questions? Just raise your hand.
How did you move that stuff to the Burning Man? I mean, it's just enormous. Did you build a lot of it there? I mean, and when did you get there to do that? And I was at the old generator, and it was such a beautiful experience. I mean, it was just so creative and so wonderful. And everybody, you know, is collaborating. And it's just a beautiful situation. I want to commend you for what you're doing. And I know it's a lot of work.
Well, thanks. That's really nice of you to say, and we really appreciate that. But how do we get this stuff there? That's a great question. A lot of semi trucks go out to Burning Man. The larger sculpture of the robot, like I kind of mentioned, that was my husband's project. He's a large scale fabricator. And if you watched actually the promo video that I recorded, I don't know, I think that it was played last week. There's a train sculpture behind me. That's my husband and my current project that we're building for a museum in the Mendocino Coast. But so anyway, I guess I'm just giving you a little context that I have a lot of experience with large scale sculpture, and it really varies from sculpture to sculpture, but we build them to be disassembled. Sometimes we never even assemble the sculpture before we get out there. Like Bebop was never totally assembled before we were actually on Playa. It was built in pieces in the building and then shipped out there. The same thing with the space whale. The space whale was put together out in the desert for the first time.
And the same thing with Baba Yaga's house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had no idea if the house would there I am. Yeah, we didn't know if the house would actually be able to sit on those chicken legs. I mean, we had an engineer, but we'd never tried it. So when we did the lift at Burning Man with a crane and put the house on top of the chicken legs, that was like the first time in my life I had ever seen it together. It was insane.
You know, with math, all things are possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does, but there's a lot of shipping and moving of things around that time. A lot of large scale. We have 3 forklifts in the generator, and it's a real task.
Yeah, Yeah.
So
And when you get out there, Burning Man, they have equipment for you to unload and to use to assemble.
in my experience at the generator, it's what the capabilities of the people that show up there to do their projects or to participate in the projects is phenomenal. It's really one of those, you can't judge a book by the cover, because somebody who looks like a hippie who's just there to, look for some free food is not. They're an engineer and they do things like build drones like Alicia does. I have a question. Are you going to be building any big art this year at the new location, do you think?
Probably not at the Bell Street location. It is quite small for that sort of thing. So it sort of remains to be seen. Some of you who maybe are paying attention to Burning Man might see that a theme was announced. So they're at least seriously toying with moving forward with the event this year. So it'll be interesting to see how we end up managing that. I think that's a hard question to answer, honestly, until we get into the building and we see how we end up arranging the shops and how it all feels once we get in there. And also just seeing what the community is looking for. My husband has been one of the people who's built a lot of big projects in there. And in our current project, the train won't be moved. There's not enough space to do that at Bell Street. Also, Bell Street, we won't be initially accommodating metalwork. We may eventually be able to work with the fire marshal to get approval to do those types of hot works. But to start out, we are not pursuing that. And then we're going to get in there, get things going, see how it feels, see what people are looking for. We're very community. We sort of, we want to, we adapt. Yes, community driven. We adapt to fit the needs of the community. So it'll be it's a really good question. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I feel like if we say no big art, that we will not, and there won't be any big art making.
We don't want to say no.
Then I feel like then it'll happen. Then someone will show up and be like, look, I just need this small space. And then suddenly it'll be an explosion of art. So
flexibility.
Maybe more medium and small art.
Yeah, so flexibility and adapting to what shows up is really the key. It's like this past year has been. How long do you think you're going to be there?
Our lease is for 6 months initially, and then we can extend it. At this point, it's hard to say when assuming Audi goes through, which it's looking very promising right now. It's just been the negotiations. That building is currently owned by Renown. And so it's this investor group. It's actually the same group that's doing the Reno public market. That's how we ended up using that space in the interim. The negotiations are taking a little longer. There's been some back and forth with some of the funders, but things look really good right now. We're expecting maybe within a week getting an initial agreement signed, and then maybe a closing by the end of the month is what we most recently have heard from our board president.
Closing end of April.
Oh, end of April. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
End of April. So,
but that timeline's been pushed back 4 times.
Pushed back many times. So
due to COVID. So
and some negotiation stuff. So we're not totally sure, but we I don't know. I have a really hard time imagining us leaving Bell Street before the end of 2021.
Yeah.
I think we'll be there for quite a while. There's a big build out right now. It's like the new building is just it's an empty warehouse, and there's all this build out that needs to happen, and not just for us, but other tenants. So
somebody asked earlier about how they can get involved with the generator, but I think also you guys ought to make sure you tell everybody very specifically how they can get involved and support this, because I think a lot of people on the call really don't understand how fantastic this is and how important it is to Reno. So, there's a place to make donations, I think, on the website, and being a member and all that. So make sure that maybe you can get Dave to send that to everybody.
Yeah, that would be great. We will, of course, we're a nonprofit. We'll always take donations for sure.
Yes.
And we are definitely looking for community partners for the education program.
Yes.
People that can help sponsor so that we can get her programming to lower income, underserved communities. And then another thing we're doing is we're going to do a call for art to put a mural in Bell Street. And we are 100% looking for a community partner to match for the mural. So like we're going to give $500 to the artist, and we really would love to find somebody to match us for 500 so we could pay a local artist $1,000. So that's like, I'm going to put that call out on Friday. And yeah, I don't know, just spread the word, because we're just trying to like,
we'll send those things to you guys when we have them, the information.
Thanks.
We are, exactly. And also, like we said, for the education program, like I touched on, I'd love to see once I have this, this virtual program totally built out, which I'm getting close to sending it out. We're just in a pre-order stage right now. I'm very interested in looking for organizations that are interested in sponsoring local schools to be able to get those boxes out, because the cost per kid, like our cost, which is what we basically be doing at, is very low. So for relatively not gigantic donations, you could be looking at sponsoring like an entire grade level in an elementary school, either one that like is in our district, or if there's one that your organization has a tie to or something, if there's a school or a community center, any organization with kids in that age range, in that like early elementary age range, we'd love to get those kits out to these kids and get them this learning experience that they can do from home on their own time. A lot of kids are really missing that kind of work right now. And in my own opinion, I guess what I think is clever about this program is that it is so self-contained, because so often you can't make assumptions about what kids are going to have at home available to them. So,
I would think of giving it as a gift to somebody that I know has twin 8-year-olds. Are they too old?
Nice.
Yeah, it makes a good gift, a really creative gift.
There you go.
And that's available right now for pre-order if you're looking for like a personal gift for someone you know, or your own child or grandchild. You can go to the renogenerator.com/kids and get a little more information there.
Jump in, Mary.
Yes,
Jump in.
Mary.
Unmute yourself.
Oh, hi. Yeah, could I ask, this is so fascinating. And you're right, Carol, this is like right where we need to be with creative arts in the schools. So Alicia, I have a question for you.
Sure.
One of the projects I'm working on is a kind of like a learning laboratory for communities. And the kids would actually be designing these spaces to be learning experiences that they love, that are gamified, fun, immersive. And what the arts, what I see a gap right now is every child is underserved with arts, right? Would you agree
Yes,
that we just
100%.
Definitely.
we haven't been doing art well? And secondly, STEM has gotten a lot of attention. We've gotten a lot of funding for STEM, but what we're missing is that STEAM, the true STEAM, because it's design thinking. It's every kid should be able to take on a challenge, figure out how to look at solutions, create things, prototype them. And that's what we want the Learning Lab to be for all ages. So, so this model would be less about putting the boxes in the hands of kids in a school and having them come to a place, a physical place. Has the generator talked about like that type of role of being a community learning center for the kids to come and do hands-on projects?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, definitely. Yeah, this remote learning initiative is really just something that, because I was brought on at a time when we didn't have a building, we're in the middle of a pandemic, I was like, how can I get hit the ground running, creating a program that, something for kids that are still going to be kind of stuck in their houses for a little while longer while we're rolling out the vaccine and we're getting to a place where we can start to resume some amount of normalcy. But yeah, I'm really hoping that by this summer we'll start to have that kind of in-person stuff. And I'm very passionate about exactly what you're talking about. It's a lot of what I used to do when I was at OMSI in Portland. I was the senior technology educator and I ran a lab there called the Design Lab that was based around design thinking. So very much, I'm very interested in building those kinds of programs for, a thing I did a lot there was work even with like homeschool groups and school groups and having kids come in for multi-day or multi-week programming where you kind of can work through problems and designs over time. And I really see a ton of value in that type of programming. And I'm super psyched to be able to do that for the
I'm so
generator
excited
now.
to hear that, especially because I'm hearing there have been pods of kids that have like left the public system and like, you know, small groups to have a one-on-one with a teacher, but they desperately need programming, right, in those
Yep.
small entities. So it might be an interesting thing to talk about, the training of people who could facilitate these projects.
Oh, that's a really
right?
cool idea.
And then move around maybe from pod to pod or something. So I would love to follow up.
That's a great idea. Yeah. And if you ever, I mean, my email was on there. It's just alicia@therenogenerator.com. If you have any interest in reaching out
Absolutely.
to me, I'd be really interested to talk more about it. I'm very interested in that. I actually went to an amazing training as an educator. There was a separate thing, but it was at a science museum. It was when I was still in science museum world, and it was about it was a cultural competency type training. And it was really life-changing for me as a human being, quite honestly. So the idea of facilitating something like that, you know, here would be wonderful.
Fantastic. And one other element of this that might be fun to talk about is that a lot of parents want to really become capable of running, you know, homeschooling projects in their own homes. So I could see a training center a big time. What about the Discovery Center? What's happening there in terms of STEM, like makerspace like projects? Is there
like the Discovery Museum here in Reno?
Yeah, yes, the Discovery Museum.
They do have a makerspace, and it's called The Shop. And when I was working, I worked there for like 7 or 8 months. And I was mainly just for a short time because I actually was pregnant at that time. And then I left to have my baby and I took a little time off. But my job there was actually to create the programming that we did in that space. So we did a lot of different, a lot of one-off things there. So it was generally just kind of not self-serve, but on people's own time. They could come in and out of the space, and we had projects available and different media. One of the things that's really cool there is they have a lot of really great woodworking tools. They got some great, they have a really great woodworking kind of facility for kids. So they've been able to do some cool stuff in that way. I'm not sure what's happening right now or what's been happening recently there, but they have focused on that. And they also have the I can't think of what it's called now. It's actually a partnership with, they have like the more tech area there. Gosh, I just can't think what it's called now. It's amazing what you can forget. And that's actually a collaboration with, I want to say it's the Smithsonian that really that has a program for putting these labs with, it's a lot of engineering and technology stuff in the upper part of the museum. They do a lot of that kind of cool tech stuff and engineering stuff. I can't think what it's called. I feel so silly now. It's going to come to me when I'm off the call.
Do you know who's running the show over there?
You know, I got to admit that I don't, because when I reached out to my prior supervisor there, when I was in the process of applying for the job at the generator, she's not there anymore. So I'm not sure. I know Adam Wiley, who was, when I was working there, he did summer camps. I feel like maybe he has a higher position now and he might be more involved with that type of work. But I'm not 100% positive about that. That's an organization I need to reach back out to and see what's going on. But
I feel like we should check and see if there's any more questions too, because now it's getting later and I don't want to keep everybody on for too long. Any other questions? I saw in the comments, or sorry, in the chat, Suzanne asked if we get funds or grants from Burning Man. Not really.
We don't. Our organization doesn't. Many of our artists have, but we have not received any funding from the org.
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes they give us a little bit of money.
So I do have a few questions.
Sure.
So full disclosure, I'm the president over at Bridgewire.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, and we just met with Jerry a few weeks ago to kind of talk about how your makerspace and our makerspace can kind of support each other, maybe with some training or sharing of resources to do training.
Nice.
But one of the things that I heard or saw, I know it's new for you guys, is a small business incubator. And that, what I'm kind of curious about, and I forgot to ask this question to Jerry, is that going to be focused more on art, or is it just general businesses, anyone coming up with new products, or what are you guys looking at? Or do you have it defined at this point?
Well, so that kind of happened organically. Like we were talking about before, the Elevation Van Works guy. So they take like Mercedes vans and then they modify them to be a living space in sprinters. Yeah. You know, so that's one. We have a couple t-shirt companies that screen print out of our space. So I guess to answer your question, it's kind of anybody that could use the space in a way that it works, right? Like for us, we eliminate the overhead. So like Art Town graphic design, like they were paying monthly for rental for their silk screening spot. And it was a lot of money, you know, for one business. But now they brought their equipment to our space. And so them and two other screen printing companies use the equipment in our space, and they pay for the business incubation membership, and it's way cheaper, and everybody gets to share the resources. So that's kind of, we've just been doing it in a really organic way. Like whoever shows up and says that it fits for them.
It's less about, I think, the product and more about like where the business is at in their development and like what their need is for equipment and facilities and like how well we can accommodate that.
Yeah.
So it's rarely case by case.
So it's really as the people come in and their particular desires or needs, you guys figure out how to adjust to it. We're kind of in the same boat. We've got several people here who are, you know, entrepreneurs trying to do stuff in the first stages.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we are really happy to, you know, get an email from somebody that's like, hey, I have this idea. Maybe it'll work in your space. Like that's the kind of emails we always want, or phone calls or whatever. So yeah, and we have had some business incubation people move on to their own location. You know, they've gotten enough business and they've incubated. They've gone,
And that's like best case scenario, right?
Yeah,
like we help them get on their footing and then they like outgrow us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have one very successful case here too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear that you're talking to Jerry. I haven't been to Bridgewire, but I really want to. I was pretty involved with some hacker spaces up in Portland. I lived there for like 5 years before I moved here, but I have a background in microcontroller electronics, and I also build and fly FPV racing drones. So I do a lot of that kind of. I love like. You know, microcontroller based electronic work really is kind of one of my favorite things. So
you'll be jealous of our electronics lab.
I bet. That's an area where we've always been, hasn't really been our thing, but it's you guys' thing. So that's awesome.
So what you guys are talking about is entrepreneurs who are building a minimum viable product or trying to get a prototype ready, right? Is that what you do, Eric? Who's the
So in our space, we kind of set the rule as you can build small quantities, you know, more like prototype runs and that kind of stuff. And we even let them go ahead and do if it's small enough quantity to just kind of keep on building something and trying that out. It kind of gets to the point where you start to, you know, dominate a piece of equipment, or you actually need to bring in another. You know, you need to bring in another member because he's your employee, essentially. That's the cutoff point. It's time to go find your own spot.
Jesse,
can you get that balance sometimes?
Yeah.
Jesse, can you put your email in the chat box also?
Yes, absolutely.
Do we anticipate having a student internships next summer? So like summer 2021? Possibly. Hopefully. One of the areas that we've been talking a lot about trying to get some more like students, high school and even maybe college level involved is on our CNC machinery. We have a CNC plasma cutter, we have a CNC router, and we're trying to right now, we're workshopping a lot of ideas internally about how to create better paths to competency with that machinery, because it does have such a foundation that you need to build. You can't really just be like, here's how to go, not like the possible things that can go wrong can get pretty intense with some of those machines, but also they're an amazing opportunity for a lot of people. So yeah, we actually just talked, we had a staff meeting on Monday night and we talked quite a bit about different ways that we're trying to build out some.
Yeah, there's a large
pathways in that,
overhead.
and one is big student internship would be a great way to do it.
Yeah, we did have an intern last summer, and she was at UNR and she was an English major, and then she was my intern as like communications. And that was really cool, and she helped me write grants, and we just did a lot of what you do day-to-day nonprofit stuff. So yeah, there are definitely internship opportunities. I don't know how like formal, like if we'll put out a call for interns or anything, but it's like with everything, like send us the email. We're just open, we're open to like talk about anything. We're open for collaboration. This is a community, driven art nonprofit. All of the choices and the decisions we make is like really informed by the community that we serve.
Yeah, what people are looking for, what they're asking for.
So Jesse, you are a phenomenal project manager. And, I hear the excitement and the energy when you guys are talking with Eric. And I've known Eric for a long time. And I know that, you got a lot of folks that come there that they just want to build stuff. And they forget, and Eric, what my background is, and Dave, he said, it's about building a business, right? You got to build this, but, and Jesse's this phenomenal project manager. So I think, Jesse, that you could add something to the people who are there to make sure that they've got a project that they're working on. And then they're not just sort of steamrolling ahead. So you might want to think about that in terms of if you come in here as an incubation space, let's help you get organized so that you're not just building something that nobody wants.
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
Yeah, and I'm all about that stuff, and I would be willing to help you put an outline together.
Okay.
Yeah, please come.
Yeah. Do you want? Yeah, I mean, we'll talk.
We'll talk.
we can start talking right now, and then it'll be another like 15 minutes on here. So
I owe you a phone call anyway.
And
we will talk offline.
I want to join that call because I think what we want is project management as a core and design thinking as a core competency for all students.
Mary, you will be on the call.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We'll schedule it.
Sounds great.
Any other questions, guys?
I would, design thinking has come up a couple of times here, and this is rare in Reno. How do we get a group of us who are passionate about design thinking together to conspire? I would so love that.
Larry, when Jim Sockerman was running the Innovation Center, they used to do those all the time. And the gal he was doing them with also just left. But I would definitely contact whoever is there now, because they have the perfect space for and people for putting on those classes. And like I just messaged Dave, collaboration just makes my heart sing. And so in
addition to the classes, I'd like for people who are like closet design thinkers here in Reno, we're scattered about. I'd like for us to have a little meetup somehow.
Eric?
We would be so happy to host a meetup at the Bell Street location. Once we open in May, if you want to do a monthly meetup, that would be amazing. We would totally.
You're on.
There's some great conference rooms there.
Yeah, have your office call my office.
Larry, you just volunteered.
And Larry, and team, I think we should do a virtual one before May, because this is very, very critical to our design club that we're forming for kids to be able to learn from experts in this field and passionate. I love it that we can conspire, but the kids are ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mary, you're on.
Figure out how to do it. Okay.
Name the time and date. Let's do it.
Yes, and Larry, you've got the resources of the 1 Million Cups folks, right? Maybe they can help you put together the collaboration piece.
Intuit also has a program where they have volunteer coaches for the design thinking. So you might want to reach out to Intuit.
Who is that?
Intuit.
The company. Do they have local people? They have local people, Linda?
Yep. Yeah, I attended an event at the chamber and signed up for just seeing what they had to say. And then they had coach reach out, and their whole philosophy is they want to help get prosperity across the world. So that's why they have volunteer coaches that teaches the design thinking. So
they have a lot of resources. So if you can give some of this contact information to the group that's to Larry, I mean, we can bring them in too. Send the contact information to Larry.
Okay, so how do I send it to Larry?
Larry, put your email in the chat, Larry.
And me too.
Mary, put your email in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Actually, you could just send it to Dave and he'll send it to everybody.
Okay.
All right, guys. I feel like if there's no other questions, I got to go pick up my kiddos in a second. My mom duties are going to resume promptly. But any last minute burning questions you want to ask before we got to go?
Well, you two were wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of this about what you're doing now, what you're going to be doing. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so
Thanks.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. This was really great.
Yeah, we kind of want to be members now.
Yeah.
Can we be members?
Come on down.
Nice.
Join ncet.org.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll make it happen. It's so fun to talk to a bunch of people who are like progressive, innovative thinkers. Like
Yeah,
this is you are our people.
Yeah.
We do this 3 times a month.
That's
So-
awesome.
Great.
I want to see the earthquakes.
Oh, that is so cool. We
Yeah.
did an in-person one there several years ago. It is just the most amazing facility. And it's sitting up there at UNR that most people don't get to see it.
It's really cool.
Well, Jesse, Alicia, thank you so much again. This is great. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. And hopefully
Yeah.
we'll get to visit you in person when this is all behind us.
Please,
Yes,
yeah.
please. We'll let you
Please
know
do.
when we open. Please, everybody, please come and visit once we
Come-
open.
come
We're going to
see
have a
us.
big opening celebration. Well, as big as we can.